You are watching or listening to Purham and Associates. For more information, go to www.rpurham.com. Hey, good day to you all. Welcome to Permanent Associates, and I hope you all had a fantastic week. Uh, this week we had a sine die. That's the end of the legislative session here in Texas. The 89th legislature, which was a complete, like, I ain't gonna say complete, but a largely complete disaster. But anyways, I'm not gonna get into that today. But folks, we got, of course, it's Friday, and this is the time we take to thank our men and women who are serving our nation around the world, sacrificing and committing their time, their freedom, and protecting our freedom, our Constitution, and our way of life. We want to thank you, and we salute you, and we wish you a safe journey back home to your friends, families, and loved ones, wherever that may be. And of course, uh, you know, I'm excited to have Michael Letts back on because we got a lot of stuff to get into today, and y'all know who he is, but I'm gonna briefly give you an introduction. Michael Letts. He is a founder, president, and CEO of InVest USA, a national grassroots nonprofit organization that is helping hundreds of communities provide thousands of bulletproof vests for their police forces through educational, public relations, sponsorship, and fundraising programs. As of June of 2023, more than 13,520 concealable and active shooter vests have been distributed to police officers throughout the United States and globally as a result of his leadership and passion. The organization's efforts have helped police officers from areas devastated by Hurricane Katrina to nations such as Nicaragua and Mexico. He is A few of his numerous honors and awards include His Excellency Count Sir Michael Letts, Chevalier, Knight of Honor of the Imperial Teutonic Order, Republic of Germany, the Congressional Gold Medal Award, 100 Congress, and the South Carolina Order of the Palmetto. He resides in Columbia, South Carolina with his loving wife and partner, Karen. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing some and presenting others, Mr. Michael Letts. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you. I appreciate the intro. It's very kind of you to say. But I'll tell you what, I appreciate your station and your stance because here's where we're at in America.
Mm-hmm.
We have a desperate lack of the truth at the moment.
Yeah.
Mainstream media is either ignoring stories or putting their spin on the narrative of stories. And Americans are desperate for truth, and your programming provides that. And we thank you for it, Randy. We thank God that you're on the air and hope you be there for a long time to come.
Me too, and thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Yes, it's days I wake up and I'm like, man, do I feel like doing this today? Yes, get up and do it. It's like who's
Know the
listening to
feeling.
it's like who's listening to me anyways? Nobody's gonna miss me. you know, but you're right.
Oh, they are.
You're right. There is a waning I guess you'll say cachet of truth being spread right now, especially through media. That's why you have the legacy media flailing like it is, and so many podcasters such as myself were coming along and saying, you know what, we're not going to be beholden to anybody, so we can sit here and say whatever we want and tell the truth, all while doing it. And yeah, we might get canceled for a couple of days or get suspended or and what have you on YouTube and Rumble and all that stuff, but it's worth it because at the end of the day, when they attack you back, you know you're doing something right. So I welcome it.
Correct.
I welcome it all day long. So, but Mike, tell us, thank you for taking the time to be here, by the way. But tell us
Oh, my privilege.
what has been going on with you lately? What's been up?
Well, there's some new things going on besides all we're doing within the administration. And, of course, we could talk about that for days. I mean, trying to make sure that we make America safe and secure.
Yeah.
What we saw Sunday was just the tip of the iceberg of the terrorist network that we have in this country. Most people don't remember that over the last 4 years with the Biden administration brought in 1,200 members, ISIS, Al Qaeda, and the Taliban, and released them all across this country. And
Hmm.
we're not talking about members that are just on the terrorist watch list. Randy, we're talking about enemy combatants, people we fought in combat in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah.
It just boggles my mind why you would invite any of them to come to this country and then turn them loose and quote unquote not keep track of where they're at. Now we're tracking them down real quickly because they have a very organized and very intricate terrorist network here in the country, which is why the president has declared those organizations as domestic terrorism, so we can now engage military operations as well, our special forces, to make sure we eradicate them. But you saw the tip of the iceberg happening on Sunday. That was an Egyptian Muslim terrorist from overseas who had come in as an illegal immigrant,
Hmm.
illegally into this country. How did he get here? He had a visa, but he let it expire. And instead of leaving like he was supposed to, the previous administration did nothing to track him down to send him on his way. So he stayed and did a terrorist attack against senior citizens. Randy, when you try to use Molotov cocktails and flamethrowers to burn senior citizens, I mean, that's a painful
Hmm. Hmm.
injury to begin with. There's just absolutely no excuse to have it in this country. And that's why we've been working on things like that to make sure that we focus where we need to be. In the previous administration, they wanted to focus on whether you were Catholic, whether you were touring your Capitol building or whatever. Now we're trying to put all assets and resources into not just going after the drug cartels and the human sex traffickers, but this terrorist network as well. But speaking about the human sex traffickers, let me tell you some of the things that InVest is doing.
Hmm.
Quite frankly, this has been a concern of mine for some time. You'll see the time. Remember, InVest is to protect our first responders and our law enforcement,
Right.
but not just physically, not just with a vest, but also do what they need to have done for counseling, for PTSD, because they see the worst of the worst every day.
Hmm.
Well, one of the things that we had noticed, and I've been on these quite a number of times, when we do these tactical raids on child sex traffickers, we go in, full tactical gear, bust into the area, take them down, and then inevitably we'll bust into one of these doors, and there's a room full of kids, small children,
Hmm.
frozen like deers in a headlight. Because I can't even describe you, Randy. It wouldn't be fair to try to describe on the air just the torture and the horrendous, atrocious things
Yeah.
that have been done to these kids.
Yeah.
So they're just sitting there petrified. Of course, I kind of be petrified too. If you take a look at me in tactical gear, I could be a sight to behold. But suddenly, after about a minute or so, it dawns on some of them to begin with. Maybe they're here to help, and they'll jump up and run over and throw a bear hug lock around one of your legs that you ain't breaking, Randy. I mean, it's
Hmm.
kind of like you got a
Yeah.
growth on the side of your leg.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
locked in, and then the rest of them all do the same thing. But let me tell you what it does to our first responders. Because, we're not supposed to be emotional. We're supposed to be just tough old rough guys.
Hmm.
But quite frankly, that gets to the heart.
Yeah.
And as it gets to the heart, I have all these officers afterwards, these fellow agents, tell me, we're doing the right thing. What do you mean we're doing the right thing? Of course you're doing the right thing. No, no, no. What I'm asking is this. We're risking our lives, happy to do so, to rescue these kids. But are these kids being taken care of when we free them? Or are we putting them in another situation that's just as bad?
Yeah.
Initially,
True.
I would say, Randy, well, it's the government taking them. Of course, how can it be bad? Well, of course, we're going to take care of them. But let me tell you some tragic things that we've just discovered in the last couple of weeks on a state and local level in Tennessee, and this happens in every state. We've
Hmm.
got reports now of 7,000 children that are in child protective custody that have been abused. Same situation that we're rescuing kids out of. So you put them into a government, state, or local program, child protective services. I can't guarantee you that they're being taken care of.
Right.
We also know from whistleblowers from Health and Human Services on the federal level that there are over 7,700 cases reported that the Biden administration did nothing about of children being trafficked.
Mm.
Now you say it's not 7,000 kids? No, that's 7,700 cases. Some of these cases deal with hundreds of thousands of kids at a time. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of kids that we knew were in trouble, and the administration did nothing about it.
Yeah,
So the
and
point being is, you don't know what the government's doing, going to take care of them or not. So my guys have a valid point, Randy.
yeah,
What are we really doing?
you're right,
So
and
what we decided to do is
mm,
create a what we'll call a processing facility. It's called Broken Arrow Children's Ranch. It's going to be in Cave City, Kentucky, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But what we would do, we'll take these kids that we rescue, put them in this facility. They'll have the best of care, the best of counseling, the best of therapy, while we find what I call vetted facilities, vetted adoption facilities, vetted, foster cares, etc., to make sure that these kids are properly taken care of and that this doesn't happen to them again. Randy, they're
mm,
kids. They don't deserve this.
yeah,
They didn't ask
yeah.
for this.
Amen, and thank you for doing that because it is important. And you're right, the government under the Biden administration, and it could have happened in other previous administrations as well. Because when I hear about 350,000 kids just disappeared and they came across the border
Correct.
and nobody knows what happened to them, it's like this is not the first time that this happened. This is just the first time it got
Right.
exposed. So it could have happened under every administration. We just don't know about it because we don't hear about these things. And it's only been, in recent years that, the human trafficking conversation has surfaced to the public, conversation. So it's not a wonder, a lot of these kids, they become adults and they recycle or perpetuate the things that happen
Right.
to them because they see it as just normal. They're like, well, I turned out fine, so I'm gonna do it to you, type of thing. And it's like, yeah,
Exactly.
no, yeah, no, you're not gonna do that. You're about to find yourself 6 feet somewhere, and
Well,
that's what
Randy,
happened.
the problem with this situation is this. Most people don't realize this, but child sex trafficking is one of the most lucrative and powerful
Yeah,
businesses globally.
it is.
This is one of the main trunk lines of all the corruption you see happening in this country. This is a key trunk line. And if we don't cut its head off and destroy this trunk line, um, we're not going to be able to set our country free.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yep,
why this
you're
is such a critical element.
you're
But
absolutely
telling you a
right.
little bit about the facility, I think I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned it before on your show that, we also have a theme park in Cave City, Kentucky. And what is that theme park? It's a theme park for first responders, for military veterans, military. It's a family theme park. And the reason why I use first responders and military is a large portion of the proceeds go into supporting things such as InVest to make sure they're properly equipped, or families in need who are military veterans.
Yeah.
And a couple little quick things about the park. If you've ever seen the movie Jurassic Park, Randy,
Mm-hmm.
and all those dinosaurs you saw in the movie,
Yeah.
they are residing now at the park's called Treasure Trove. They're residing at Treasure Trove, and they're fully animated. They look real. They'll scare the devil daylights out of you if you're not, especially when that T Rex, who
Yeah.
we have a couple of them that roam the park, but one of them was laying there, and as you walk by, suddenly that eyelid pops open, and
Mm-hmm.
he starts following your movements. Yeah, that could be a little
Well,
nerve
yeah,
unsettling.
yeah,
But we
yeah.
also have a sanctuary for abused animals, etc. So here's the point: you've got kids rides there, you've got all these kind of kids entertainment, that kind of stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
can't think of a better place to bring these kids
Oh yeah.
because especially these sanctuary animals, they're great therapy. They adopt them. They say, hey, this animal has been abused like we've been abused, and they it just works a great synergy. So that's what we've decided to do. Obviously, we're in the planning stages now. We've got to put together the facility, but we've got the location already locked down,
Mm-hmm.
and we're working with the administration to get this done. Because quite frankly, we want another subject, but on this particular subject, Randy, these kids didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
they
it's
didn't.
very clear from a scriptural standpoint that God has a special place in His heart for the small children, and this
Mm-hmm.
is a
Mm-hmm.
blight on America's conscience.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think whether they're American citizens or not, which most of them are not, but that's irrelevant. These kids didn't
It
deserve
is.
that.
Yeah.
We allowed that to happen by having them come through this country. They may not have stayed here. They may have been, shipped across seas. We may pick them up. Because quite frankly, I will let our listeners know this. We're not just taking care of the kids we find here, we're going globally. We're tracking them all down. Everybody that came through this country, we're going to find dead or alive, and we're going to make sure we either get them back to their parents. Their parents are deceased, which is the kids we're talking about now. Then we'll find a facility here in the United States. I think we owe it to these kids to give them a future.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's excellent to hear. And the 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 whole trafficking idea, you hear about it and you're thinking like, nah, that's not happening like that. Nah, that's impossible. There's too many law enforcement agencies. But you come to find that a lot of them are actually involved in it, and you're like,
Correct.
wow, this is crazy. And then you go back to the conversation of, well, this is slavery, modern day slavery, and everything else, and that spins into a political narrative by itself. And it's like, folks, look, this is wrong. No matter how you want to politically spin it, we need to end it. We need to stop it, and
Correct.
get these kids, even adults that's caught up in it. Get them the help that they
Correct.
need, is so we can be a normalized society. And for some reason it falls on deaf ears a lot of times, and on the behalf of the audience here today, we thank you and those that are serving along with you that are combating against this, because it's a very important endeavor to fight for. And it's just mind-boggling to me that we still have this going on, in this day and time.
Well, thank you, Randy. It's like
Yeah,
I say, they're kids.
yeah,
What
exactly.
more can you say?
Yeah,
I don't care what party you are. They're still kids. They
yep.
need our help.
Absolutely. And going back to the terrorism thing for a second, the we got Boulder, Colorado, last week. Then 2 weeks ago, before that, we had a Yahoo come down from Illinois and killed two Jewish embassy workers. Uh,
Correct. In New
yeah,
York.
there's this pattern that's going on of these. I'm not gonna say lone wolf attacks, because my previous guest that I had on, she said there's no such thing as a lone wolf attack, and I'm like,
Well, I said
okay,
the
touche.
same thing in the last show I was on.
I know, touche, touche. You're right. But military minded. We say lone wolf attack because it's like it was only that one person that did it. But
Right.
yes, but there is no such thing as lone wolf attack. Lone wolf attacks. But
They have logistics. They have support all over the
they have,
place.
exactly, and that's what I wanted to nail down to with you as well. Is that what resources or what conversations you guys are having to target not only the attacker but the network support system that they're being supported by. What's been going on in that atmosphere?
Well, I think, Randy, you just hit the key. And that is, this is a well organized, very lucrative, well
Hmm.
positioned, and don't kid yourself. The reason why it got to this position is there are very influential and key people involved.
Yeah.
In fact, let me just throw this out, and this will be coming out, but I'm giving your listeners some inside information, shall we say.
Hmm.
During the last previous administration, when we had hundreds of thousands, and I know it was reported 386,000, the actual real number that we have been able to discover at the point was 787,000 kids went missing,
Wow.
almost a million kids. But anyway, we've got reports now, and it's going to be very damning when they come out, of members of Congress who requested not a kid, but numbers of children to be delivered to various areas outside the standardized process. Just, hey,
Mm.
Randy, I want you to drop off 100 kids over here. And that's it. No justification or anything. So here's the point. Because of the fact that it is such a lucrative business and it is so uh, powerful. Why is it powerful? Because when they're involved with this, they use it as blackmail against them.
Yeah.
You don't want that coming out you involved, so pretty much you're captive, held captive by those who are running these organizations. You're
Hmm.
going to find that that's the reason why so much of it got done. Unfortunately, America has the distinction, and it's not a positive one, of being one of the largest exporters of child sex trafficking in the world.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's the reason why, because it's so lucrative financially, and there are so many key people that are associated with it. Why do you think we're having such difficulty with the Epstein list?
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not because we don't have the information. People say, well, just go ahead and put their names out there. Trust me, that's what I want to do. But
Hmm.
here's the counterbalance to that, Randy. This was not just a small operation. This was an operation that was actually coordinated by our government and in conjunction with governments all across the world.
Hmm.
Imagine the implications when that comes out and who was involved and what those countries did to other countries. You throw the possibility of another world conflict, world war.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why I'm not in any way condoning. We are not going to let these people get away. I have the assurance of this administration and the president we will not do that. But we're having to be careful as to how we proceed in getting the information out because it's so explosive globally.
Yeah. No, I totally imagine that. And the conversation about Epstein didn't kill himself, and then Dan Bongino and Castro like, here's the tape. Look, and then now you got people saying, well, the tape was doctored. Anybody, AI technology and all this. And I'm like,
Right,
I'm on the proponent. I'm like, maybe he actually did kill himself because there was so much, tied into
right,
him and what was going on. It's like I better off myself before I get off by somebody else, and I'm not ready for
right.
that. I'm in a better
Well,
position to
one
do
of
it
the
myself.
things
Yeah.
you're right. One of the things I was on the show last night, that question came up. Of course, people were very upset. I don't believe Cash anymore. I don't believe Dan. They've turned on us. I said, listen to the interview. Let's make sure we clearly understand what was said.
Yep.
You'll notice what was said before was, look, we've only been here for 60, 70 days, okay? Since we've taken over.
Hmm.
Here's what we've discovered. There are files, and this has just come out in the last few days.
Yep.
There is a system, a coding system within the bureau that actually hid files that were had nefarious activity. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
we have found a room now, multiple rooms actually, where files were stored that no one knew about. We've got files that are now we're finding behind toilets, etc. Okay, so here was the point that,
Crazy.
that Dan and Cash are making. I can't tell you whether we are releasing all the information. I can only tell you what we have.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not saying this is it. This is what we've been able to find in our 60 days we've been here. Maybe that's it. Maybe the rest of it's actually burned. You'll never find it again. Maybe
Yep.
we'll
Yep.
find it behind another toilet in another men's restroom somewhere. But here's what he was saying. Based on the information that we have today,
Hmm.
if we have to go to an indictment, the only thing we can prove is suicide.
Yep.
Not saying that that's what happened. We're saying, you remember, this is a prosecutorial matter.
Yep.
You can't make a charge if you don't have the evidence to back it up.
Back it up.
And as all they were saying was based on the evidence we have now, not saying that that is all the evidence that's there. It's all that we have possession of at the moment.
Right.
The only thing we can substantiate is the claim of suicide.
Yeah, and that's key. The verbiage they were very careful with the messaging, and he's right.
Correct.
Only been there a short period of time. This is what's on my desk. This is what we've been able to find. Not saying that's it, but hey, it is what it is. And if people are clamoring, saying they demand information versus just waiting it out and saying, okay, we'll be patient and wait till y'all get I was about to say get your head out your fourth point of contact, and then and then present what you have. But let's just piecemeal what we can, well, what we do have to the American people. Let you digest that, and then when we find something else, we'll
Right.
give you that, and from there, y'all figure it out, okay? Because at that point, we're done. And so I get it.
You gotta,
Yeah, I
you're
get it.
right, Randy. You got to give them credit. Let's just take what we just talked about. They didn't have to tell you that they discovered a coding system that was hiding information within inside the system. They
Exactly.
didn't have to tell you that they're finding files behind the toilet. They
Yep.
could have kept that quiet. They're
Hmm.
trying to be transparent, but sometimes we are not patient and we demand what we
Hmm.
think is the answer immediately, and sometimes it doesn't always work out that way, Randy.
True. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's people. I think we're in a day and age where we're so hungry for information that once we get the information, we really don't know what to do with it, and we say that's not enough information. It's like, well, that's all the information you're gonna get, and so we're not satisfied, and we just keep perpetuating the anger of not having
Right.
enough information when it's like you have all the information at your disposal. Like, what more do you want? Like, you can't even process what you already have because guess what? at the end of the day, there's so much more behind that that you wouldn't even be able to comprehend it. There's a we got
You're right,
American
Randy.
we got American citizens that run around don't even know how many countries there are, or how many, or the
Right.
name of some of these countries. They're like, who? Burma. Where's that at? It's like, but
Exactly.
you're asking for information about this terrorist organization. I just told you they came out of Burma. And they're like, I never even heard of Burma. Like, well, okay, go process that first and then come back. And
Right.
it's just it's crazy. I just crack up when I hear about these things. But I wanted
You
to
know,
ask.
one of the things
Mhm.
your show is that you have demonstrated, because I know what you say on your show, just how much corruption there is.
Yeah,
So I
there
mean, it's
is.
like it's so deep and overwhelming. Give us a chance to get to the bottom of some of this. It's not going. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not going to be destroyed in a day. I mean, it's going
Exactly.
to take time
Yeah,
to get this stuff done.
yeah, absolutely. It will. It will. And the more corruption you find, the more players are exposed and involved. Matter of
Right.
fact, the whole kid thing, you said members of Congress. The first thing that popped in my head a second ago was Pizzagate. Everybody was like, "Oh, that's a conspiracy
Yeah,
theory. That's
exactly.
not true." Oh shit, it's real because that's what's going on. It is what it is, and but the American people are not ready to accept that. And once they're ready to accept it and say, okay, everything that's a conspiracy is only a conspiracy until it's true. And now that it's true,
Right.
now it's like, well, you're missing context. That's the fact checker, answer is you're missing context. It's like, what context is there that these politicians, these elected officials, these government agencies are kidnapping kids and put them into sex slavery? What context? What other
Correct.
context do you need? like
You
miss me with
don't
that. Yeah, it's crazy. But I want
follow the money, Randy.
follow the
Works every
money.
time.
I was just gonna say follow the money. Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. I wanted to ask you with a lot of these attacks that's going on around the country, and the Jewish community is one of the prime targets right now. But they're not the only target at the end of the day. There's the regular everyday people, black, white, Chinese, Asian, Indian, you name it. Everybody's a target to some degree at some point. With Invest USA, can everyday citizen like myself, can we just say, okay, you know what? I want to go online, or I want to go order a vest, to protect myself. So when I'm out and about, if I get shot at, I stand a chance of, a higher rate of survival. Is there a way for us to do that, or is that still illegal? Because
There is.
I know I know at one
It,
point it was illegal to have body armor. So I don't know if that's still a thing or not.
there was an attempt in some local jurisdictions tried to do that. Found out it wasn't constitutional. Same as trying to tell you can't own a firearm. So
Mm-hmm.
as of today, Randy, it is still legal for you to own a ballistic armor or protective, body armor. What did they do about that situation? The only thing they could do legally was this: they could pass this. If you commit a crime wearing body armor, you get a
Mm,
stiffer penalty than if you were not wearing body armor. But they can't keep
mm,
you from doing it. Now, to answer your question, if they go to our website, that's InvestUSA.org. There's an ability called info, or my email address is mlets at investusa.org. If they'll send us a note, we'll be happy to make sure that they can get their own vest at the wholesale price that we pay for. We're happy to
awesome.
tack that on to an order. I've had a number of people do that. Probably getting a lot more requests than we've ever had before to do that, just because of the times we live
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's good to know. And because like I say, it's just like craziness that's going on out there, and I know that is a concern for people. It's like, man, can I just walk into a old army surplus store and buy buy the IBA armor and stuff? And it's like, well,
in.
not really. Yeah, you kind of look crazy
I
if you're
don't
doing
think
that.
you'll find that in
Yeah,
an army surplus
yeah,
store.
you won't. Yeah. Not even the old chicken vest, that we used to wear, the old
Exactly.
flak vest. You won't even find that even. I looked,
No.
I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. but it's good to know that there is a resource out there, and people can go to, ladies and gentlemen, for the listening audience. You go to investusa.org, and as he said, you could go down to the where is it, the resource you said.
Well, if they go to investusa.org, there's an email ability to email. It's called
Okay,
info@investusa.org, or my personal email address, mlets@investusa.org. Send me a note, and we'll make sure we're glad to get you a vest at the wholesale cost,
okay.
so that you save a bunch of money and you're still protected. Obviously, we don't have that as a flashing first tag when you come onto the website, but we're happy to do that for anybody that needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, good deal, good deal. It's a good thing that there's organizations like you that exist, because actually prior to Invest USA, I and what you specialize in, I had never heard of any other organization outside of Department of Defense level kind of companies, but they exclusively for the military.
Right.
You don't hear about what you guys are doing, and as does on everyday streets. I still don't hear about it, so it's like, and I'm like, hey, y'all know there's a company called Invest USA. They're like, what are you talking about? And so I've been telling people about it, and they're like, oh wow,
Well,
this is
thank you.
this is good, this is good. And so I just want to encourage the audience, like, there's help out there. You just gotta, take the time to look it up, and research it, and support it as well. That's most importantly, is support. This stuff ain't free. Contrary to
Yeah,
popular
you're exactly
belief,
right.
ladies and gentlemen, this stuff is not free. So, yeah,
And
I know where you're
the
coming from
sad part
there.
about what you just said is from this standpoint, Randy, we
Hmm.
were asking our brave men and women today to go out and help bring in these cartels, these sex traffickers, these terrorist network, and they're going out willingly to do so. They're putting their lives on the line. They may not come back,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the people that they're going after are better protected and better
It's
armed
true.
than we are.
Hmm.
That's a shame. That should never be in this country. So
Yeah,
let's all work together to make sure
yeah.
we show our support to the people who are willing to die for us, if
Yes,
need
absolutely,
be, and make sure
absolutely.
they have the necessary equipment.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Michael, what else y'all have going on, and close out with your final thoughts, sir.
Well, quite frankly, I want to next time we want to not give all the details. We have a movie up underway called Trace 4. If you will recall the debacle that happened in the withdrawal from Afghanistan, we left Americans behind for the first time in history. The tragedy in this is we left 15 young people and 5 chaperones from a church who were
Mm.
trying to provide humanitarian aid. The Biden administration refused to even acknowledge they were there, much less get them out. So they were targeted by the Taliban to be tracked down and eliminated. Um, I have a lot of contacts in DC. They contacted me, asked my assessment. I said, you've got about 72 hours. And so they want to know if we could pull some of the old boys together and provide assistance. I said, as long as it was done off the grid and covert, we get them out. That's what the movie's about. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be probably a blockbuster, kind of like the Rambo type movies that you saw. That were so.
Yeah.
It's going to be action packed, and it's going to be being produced by a key producer that everybody recognizes his name. This is going to be a major movie, and quite frankly, it's going to be a family movie because of the fact that it's our script and our story, and we're going to make sure it's done the right way.
Awesome, awesome. Michael, hey, thank you for taking the time to be here. I know you got stuff to do to sit here and talk to me all day. So, uh,
I love it,
uh,
Randy. You're a good
yeah, no,
friend.
yeah, I appreciate it. I thoroughly enjoy having you on, and getting to this stuff. So, but tell people they can follow you and support you, sir.
You go to our website. That's INVEST InvestUSA.org. Now it's a charity.org. You can donate. You can show our officers how much you support and appreciate their willingness to provide our protection. And you can keep track of everything that's going on across the country politically, how it affects law enforcement, how it affects you, what's going on with the child sex operations, the rescuing of the kids, movies. We've got 2 TV shows coming out.
Hmm?
There will be plenty to see. So don't miss it. Be a part of it. I tell people this as we conclude. Now is not the time to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah.
We are in the
Amen.
process and in a position to save this country, but we can't do it unless we all unite together. Join the
Amen.
cause. Let's save America and make it great once again. God bless you, Randy. God bless
God bless you.
America. Thank you for what you do. Have a
Absolutely.
great day.
You do the same. Thank you so much, Mike. And be safe out there. And I'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Yep. You too. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Michael Letts. Hey, once again, investusa.org. Check it out. Very, very important company. They're doing a lot of tremendously great things. I go to the website every now and then just to kind of get a, I guess you could say, an intel brief as to what's going on out there. And it's a lot of information, a lot of resources out there. And what, as we was discussing about the terrorist attacks that's going on in this country, they're not going to stop. They're not going to let up. You see it. You see they're being emboldened on the college campuses. You see they are infiltrating protests and demonstrations, parades. Even they're coming. So you gotta be vigilant. You gotta be aware and cognizant of your surroundings and get into that mind frame of something could happen because something will happen. And you might be a part of that. It might happen to you, and so you need to be prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, and all that to deal with that situation. And so this is why we do what we do. So, folks, it's Friday, and it's the time that I jump up out of here and enjoy the rest of the weekend and all that good stuff. So I might be here on Monday. Not sure yet. My schedule's been a little wonky lately. So, but either way, y'all take care. See you when I see you. God bless and take care. Ciao, ciao. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in today. Please be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and share, and go to rprim.com for more information. See you all soon. Take care. God bless.